There are cities older than empires, cities built not just from stone, but from memory. For more than 1,000 years, Edinburgh has stood upon volcanic rock overlooking the North Sea, a city of kings, rebels, philosophers, poets, executions, enlightenment, and revolution. This is a place where medieval streets still twist beneath modern lights, where castles dominate the skyline, and where every alley seems to hide another ghost story. Long before it became Scotland's capital, this rocky hilltop fortress watched Roman legions march through Britain, Viking raiders cross northern seas, and rival kingdoms battle for survival. It survived sieges, fire, plague, religious wars, political rebellions, and somehow it emerged as one of the most beautiful and influential cities in Europe. This is the complete history of Edinburgh. Long before Edinburgh existed, humans were already living among Scotland's rugged hills and coastlines. Thousands of years ago, prehistoric tribes settled near fertile land surrounding the Firth of Forth. Archaeologists discovered evidence of Bronze Age farming communities, ritual sites, and hill forts scattered across the region. But the dramatic volcanic rock that would one day hold Edinburgh Castle remained largely untouched. Then came the Celts. Iron Age tribes known as the Votadini controlled southeastern Scotland. They built defensive hill forts atop steep cliffs and rocky outcrops. One fortress, built on Castle Rock around the 7th century, became known as Din Iden. The name would eventually evolve into Edinburgh. Meanwhile, far to the south, a new power was expanding across Europe, Rome. In the 1st century AD, Roman legions invaded Britain. The Romans conquered much of England, but Scotland proved far more difficult. Northern tribes resisted fiercely. Roman armies pushed northward several times, building roads, forts, and defensive walls. But they never fully conquered Scotland. Edinburgh sat near the frontier between Roman-controlled territory and unconquered tribal lands. To the Romans, this region represented the edge of civilization itself. Beyond it lay dangerous highlands, tribal warfare, and endless resistance. Eventually, Rome retreated southward. And after the Roman Empire collapsed, Britain descended into chaos. Long before Edinburgh existed, humans were already living among Scotland's rugged hills and coastlines. Thousands of years ago, prehistoric tribes settled near fertile land surrounding the Firth of Forth. Archaeologists discovered evidence of Bronze Age farming communities, ritual sites, and hill forts scattered across the region. But the dramatic volcanic rock that would one day hold Edinburgh Castle remained largely untouched. Then came the Celts. Iron Age tribes known as the Votadini controlled southeastern Scotland. They built defensive hill forts atop steep cliffs and rocky outcrops. One fortress, built on Castle Rock around the 7th century, became known as Din Iden. The name would eventually evolve into Edinburgh. Meanwhile, far to the south, a new power was expanding across Europe, Rome. In the late 13th century, Scotland entered one of the bloodiest periods in its history. England's King Edward I invaded Scotland, seeking total control. Edinburgh Castle repeatedly changed hands between Scottish and English forces. The city became a battleground in the wars of Scottish independence. Heroes emerged. Among them was William Wallace. Though eventually captured and executed, Wallace inspired Scottish resistance. Then came Robert the Bruce. In 1314, Bruce achieved victory at Bannockburn, securing Scotland's independence. Edinburgh celebrated, but peace remained fragile. For centuries afterward, England and Scotland continued fighting wars, raids, and border conflicts. Edinburgh's fortress walls constantly prepared for siege, and the city itself became deeply militarized. The 16th century brought religion, conspiracy, and royal tragedy. Scotland divided between Catholics and Protestants during the Reformation. At the center stood one of history's most famous queens, Mary, Queen of Scots. Educated in France, charismatic and controversial, Mary returned to Scotland in 1561. Edinburgh became the stage for political intrigue. Plots surrounded the Queen. Nobles fought for influence. Religious tensions exploded. Then came scandal. Mary's husband, Lord Darnley, was murdered under mysterious circumstances. Soon afterward, Mary married a suspect connected to the crime. The nation turned against her. She was forced to abdicate. Eventually, she fled to England, where Queen Elizabeth I imprisoned her for nearly 20 years before execution. Edinburgh had witnessed the fall of a queen, but an even greater transformation was coming. In 1603, Scotland's King James VI inherited the English throne. He became James I of England. For the first time, England and Scotland shared a monarch. The royal court moved south to London. Edinburgh suddenly lost much of its political power. Yet, culturally, the city remained fiercely Scottish. Religious disputes intensified. Civil wars erupted across Britain. Edinburgh became a center of Presbyterian resistance against royal interference. The city endured riots, military occupations, and political upheaval. Then, in 1707, came the Act of Union. Scotland and England formally united into Great Britain. Many Scots saw it as betrayal. Riots erupted in Edinburgh streets. But despite anger, the Union transformed Scotland's economy, and Edinburgh was about to enter its golden age. During the 18th century, Edinburgh became one of Europe's intellectual capitals. Thinkers, scientists, writers, and philosophers transformed the city into a center of Enlightenment thought. This period became known as the Scottish Enlightenment. Men like David Hume, Adam Smith, and James Hutton revolutionized philosophy, economics, and science. Ideas spread through taverns, universities, and coffeehouses. Meanwhile, Edinburgh expanded beyond its overcrowded medieval core. Architects designed the elegant new town. Wide streets replaced cramped alleys. Neoclassical buildings gave the city a new identity. Edinburgh earned a nickname, the Athens of the North. It was no longer merely a fortress city. It had become a city of ideas. The Industrial Revolution changed Britain forever. Factories expanded. Railways connected Edinburgh to London and Glasgow. Trade and banking flourished. The British Empire stretched across the globe, and Edinburgh benefited from imperial wealth. But industrial progress also brought inequality. While wealthy citizens lived in elegant Georgian homes, many poor families crowded into dangerous slums. Disease remained common. Child labor spread through industrial districts, and class divisions deepened. Yet even amid hardship, Edinburgh became one of Britain's great cultural cities. Writers like Sir Walter Scott and Robert Louis Stevenson helped shape global literature. The city inspired Gothic stories, detective fiction, and tales of mystery. Its dark streets seemed made for legends. The 20th century brought world wars, economic hardship, and dramatic social change. Thousands from Edinburgh fought during World War I. Entire communities lost fathers, brothers, and sons. Then came World War II. Although less damaged than many European cities, Edinburgh still prepared for bombing raids and wartime shortages. After the wars, urban modernization transformed the city. Old housing districts were demolished, roads expanded, modern architecture appeared beside ancient stone buildings. Some welcomed change, others feared the city was losing its historic soul. But Edinburgh adapted once again. And by the late 20th century, it entered a new era. Today, Edinburgh is one of the world's most visited cities. Its medieval skyline attracts millions every year. The city became globally famous for culture and creativity. In 1947, the Edinburgh International Festival began, soon followed by the Fringe Festival, now the largest arts festival on Earth. Every summer, performers transform the city into a giant stage: comedy, theater, music, film, street performances. Edinburgh also became deeply connected to modern storytelling. Its architecture inspired fantasy worlds. Writers found inspiration in its Gothic atmosphere. The city helped shape books, films, and modern pop culture across the globe. Yet beneath the festivals and tourism, ancient Edinburgh still survives. Hidden closes, underground vaults, centuries-old stone stairways, ghost stories whispered through foggy streets. History lives here, everywhere. Empires rose and fell, kings ruled and vanished, wars reshaped nations. But Edinburgh endured. From tribal fortress to royal capital to Enlightenment powerhouse to modern cultural icon, this city has never stopped reinventing itself. And perhaps that is why Edinburgh feels timeless. Because here, the past is never truly gone. It echoes through castle walls, through ancient streets, through the sound of distant bagpipes carried by the wind. Edinburgh is more than Scotland's capital. It is a living memory of history itself, and its story is still being written.